There was a boy named Kabeer who lived in a small village. Kabeer had a heart full of fire and a soul full of hope. He worked hard every single day without stopping or complaining. But Kabeer had one weakness that was slowly breaking him inside. He always said yes to everyone around him, even when it hurt. If someone needed help, Kabeer would be the first one to jump and run. If someone needed a favor, Kabeer was already standing at their door. He never said no to anyone, not even once in his life. Every person in the village knew that Kabeer would always be there for them. They called his name when they needed work done fast. They knocked on his door when they needed someone to carry their load. And Kabeer always showed up every time, without thinking about himself. He believed that helping others was the best thing a person could do. He thought that if he made others happy, they would love and respect him. He thought that saying yes to everyone was the key to being loved. But every night, when the whole village slept peacefully, Kabeer sat alone in the dark. His heart felt heavy, and his hands were tired from doing too much. He had given so much of himself that he felt completely empty inside. His dreams were fading slowly, and he did not even notice at first. One afternoon, Kabeer sat near the old banyan tree at the edge of the fields. His hands were shaking, and his eyes had a pain no one could see. His grandfather, an old wise man with a calm face, came and sat beside him quietly. The old man looked at Kabeer and saw something that the boy himself could not see. He saw a strong fire being slowly put out by too much water. The grandfather spoke in a low and steady voice that filled the air with truth. He said, "Kabeer, I have been watching you for a long time now. I see you run for everyone, but no one runs for you in return. I see you give your time, but no one gives their time back to you. You water every tree in this village, but no one waters yours." The grandfather paused and let his words land deep inside Kabeer's chest. Kabeer looked down at his hands, feeling the weight of those words inside his bones. He wanted to speak, but the words stayed stuck somewhere deep in his throat. The grandfather placed his hand gently on Kabeer's shoulder and said something powerful. He said, "Son, the one who gives everything gets taken from every side. If you do not stand up for yourself, the world will walk over you." Kabeer felt a small shake go through his whole body after those words landed. He said, "Grandfather, but I just want everyone to like me and feel good." The grandfather shook his head slowly and smiled with the wisdom of many long years. He said, "Kabeer, people do not respect a man who has no value for himself. When you lose your own respect, the world loses its respect for you too." Kabeer looked at the sky and felt something shifting slowly inside his quiet heart. The next morning, Kabeer went to see Baba Guru, who lived at the far end of the village. People came to him with problems, and he always gave them something real to carry. Kabeer sat down quietly in front of Baba Guru and folded his hands with deep respect. He told Baba Guru everything, every favor, every sacrifice he had made. Baba Guru listened without blinking, without moving, without any expression on his face. When Kabeer finished, the silence between them felt alive and full of meaning. Baba Guru then looked at Kabeer straight in the eye with a calm and strong gaze. He said, "Kabeer, do you know what happens to a lamp that burns for everyone else always?" Kabeer shook his head slowly and waited for the answer with his whole heart open. Baba Guru said, "It burns itself out completely, and then it cannot light even its own way. You are that lamp, Kabeer, and you are running out of your own fire." Kabeer felt those words cut through him like a sharp blade cutting through soft earth. He asked, "But Baba Guru, how can I live without caring for those around me every day?" Baba Guru smiled and raised one finger slowly as if pointing to something bigger and higher. He said, "Caring for others is beautiful, but losing yourself in others is dangerous, child. You must first be a full lamp before you can light the path for someone else. If you are empty inside, you have nothing true to give anyone at all." Kabeer sat very still and let every single word go deep into his bones and heart. Baba Guru continued in a voice that was both soft and strong at the same time. He said, "The one who respects himself earns the respect of the whole world around him. The one who has no boundaries loses everything: his time, his peace, and his worth. You must learn to say no when no is the only honest answer you have. You must learn to stand tall before you can help another person stand up too." Kabeer felt something powerful growing slowly inside his chest, like a seed turning into a tree. He said nothing, but his eyes told Baba Guru that every word had reached its right place. Days passed, and Kabeer began to notice small but important things around him more clearly. He noticed that the people he always said yes to never once asked about his well-being. He noticed that when he was tired and needed rest, no one came to carry his load. He noticed that the more he gave, the more they took without any thanks or return. He started to feel a quiet anger rising inside him, but it was a clean and honest anger. It was not the anger of hate, but the anger of a person who finally sees the truth clearly. One evening, a girl named Noor who lived nearby came to sit beside the river with him. Noor was a quiet girl who always observed things carefully with her bright and honest eyes. She looked at Kabeer and said softly but with great strength in her words that hit hard. She said, "Kabeer, you carry everyone's burden, but who carries yours when you fall down?" Kabeer looked at her and felt those words echo inside his chest like a bell ringing loud. He said, "I thought if I helped everyone, they would always be there for me too." Noor shook her head gently and said something that Kabeer would never forget for the rest of his life. She said, "People respect the one who respects his own time and values his own self. They do not stay with the one who gives everything away out of fear of being alone." Kabeer took a long and deep breath and felt something inside him slowly and firmly stand up. He said, "I have been saying yes out of fear, not out of strength, all this long time." Noor nodded and said, "That is the most honest thing you have ever said about yourself, Kabeer. Real strength is not saying yes to everyone. It is knowing when to say no with grace." Kabeer looked at the river flowing ahead of him and felt something very powerful moving inside. He realized that the river never stops for anyone. It always keeps going and flowing forward. It does not change its direction just because someone stands in its way and blocks it. Kabeer said quietly to himself, "I will be like this river, strong, steady, and true to my own path." The next morning, something new happened that no one in the village had seen before this day. Kabeer woke up early and looked at himself in the old cracked mirror on the mud wall. He looked at the boy in that mirror and said the words that changed everything from that day forward. He said, "Kabeer, you are enough. You are worthy, and your life has great value and meaning." He walked out of his house with his head held high and his steps full of new quiet strength. That day, someone came to him with a request that would take his whole day away from him. And for the very first time in his whole life, Kabeer said no with a calm and clear voice. The person looked shocked and walked away without saying a single kind word in return. Kabeer felt a small pain in his heart, but also something much bigger growing at the same time. He felt a freedom he had never felt before in all the years of his young life so far. It was like a chain had been broken, and a new door had swung wide open just for him. He walked to his grandfather and stood before the old man with new eyes and new fire. His grandfather looked at him and smiled the smile of a man whose seed had finally grown tall. He said nothing but placed his hand on Kabeer's head in the way only a grandfather can do. That moment was worth more than 1,000 words spoken loud in any great gathering ever. From that day, Kabeer began his real journey, not away from people, but toward his own true self. He still helped others, but only when it came from a place of strength and real choice. He still cared for people, but never at the cost of losing his own peace and direction. He began to pursue his own dreams that he had buried under everyone else's wants for so long. He started working on the farm not for others but for his own family's future and hope. He started learning new skills, waking early, reading old books under the light of a small lamp. Baba Guru saw this change, and one day called Kabeer to sit under the neem tree again. He said, "Kabeer, now you have found the most important thing a man can ever find in life." Kabeer asked, "What is that, Baba Guru? What have I finally found inside myself at last?" Baba Guru said slowly and clearly, "You have found yourself, and that changes everything around you forever. A man who knows his own worth does not beg for the approval of anyone at all. He walks into every room and every field with a quiet strength that people can feel deeply. He does not need to say much, because his life speaks for him every single day loudly." Kabeer smiled and felt those words settle into him like roots going deep into firm and strong ground. He said, "I wasted so many years trying to earn love by giving away my own peace daily." Baba Guru nodded and said, "But you learned it while you were still young, and that is a great gift. Most people take their whole lives and still never learn what you have learned here today." Kabeer felt grateful beyond words and bowed with a heart that was now truly full and alive. The village slowly began to see a different Kabeer standing before them every single morning. They saw a boy who walked with purpose and spoke with honesty and acted with true respect for himself. And the strange thing was that people began to respect him more now than they ever did before. They began to come to him not to use him, but to truly listen to what he had to say. Because there is something about a person who knows their worth that pulls others in like a strong magnet. Noor saw this change and said to him one quiet evening with a gentle and warm smile, "You are finally yourself, Kabeer, and that is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." Kabeer looked at the setting sun and felt his whole life stretching out ahead of him bright and wide. He knew now that his story was only just beginning, and the best chapters were still unwritten ahead. He knew that the real victory was not in winning over others, but in winning over the fear inside. The fear of being unloved. The fear of saying no. The fear of standing alone for one's own self. He had faced that fear, and he had come out stronger, clearer and more alive than ever before in life. And so, the lesson of Kabeer's life is simple, but it can change everything inside you if you let it. You do not become great by losing yourself in the wants and needs of every other person around you. This story is not just about Kabeer. This story is about you and about me and every one of us. Today is the day you decide to stop walking on that path and start walking your own road. Today is the day you look in the mirror and say, "I am enough, and I will not beg for love." If this story touched your heart even a little, then do something powerful with that feeling right now. Smash that like button, and let the world know that this message deserves to be heard by more people.